Hello, yeah. This is another devlog for my roguelike adventure game Neko Quest. This time, as you can kind of see, we added this fog of war effect, or like line of sight visibility, what you want to call it. I was planning, here, let's move around a little bit, show it off. I was planning on doing the world generation, right? But I thought, like I was gonna make like a forest, and then I thought, you know, what's like the point of that if you can just see everything? Like the whole reason to have a forest would to be having this line of sight, right? So you could only see, you know, like you would be like, oh, like you would barely see the enemy around the corner there until they were right on top of you, right? So yeah, I think adding this adds more like tactical, I guess, like diversity. Like it gives you a reason to have different like terrain types. Yeah, and I think it's important to sort of restrict information and sort of, I think it'll make it more fun, basically. So anyway, yeah, this is the line of sight. It basically casts a ray in every direction. It casts a bunch of rays, and then it calculates the like sort of vision value based on, so like here's like the water here, or a wall maybe. I don't know what these were supposed to be originally, but they block your view for now in any case. So you see, it's like you see, and it's just cut off because none of the rays actually are able to hit there. And then as you move, the sort of shadow, it's like a flashlight almost, you know, the shadow sort of moves around and changes. That's a really nice, handy area to test my like theory on. Yeah, so that's my reasoning behind it. Originally, I was thinking of having enemies have these as well, and so I was doing a really complicated implementation. It's much simpler now. Basically, it just overlays the screen area. But at first I was like, oh, I'll make a circle, and then the enemies will, like, everybody will have this view map, and then it'll affect there. So like if an enemy is like, you know, behind here, they wouldn't see you, so they wouldn't even try to attack you. But I think that wouldn't really create much. It wouldn't be very interesting, because like, say there's an enemy like behind here, like somewhere in here, right? And you're just here and you're just like doing your thing, like crafting, using magic, fighting, whatever you're doing. The enemies would just never see you. They would just stay there until you jumped upon them, which I think is fine. But for the feeling I'm going for of like, you know, the enemies know more than you do, or they're more skilled than you, they're more perceptive than you are, right? So they're coming after you. I think it would give an extra feeling of like immersion, like, you know, the world is happening even without you stumbling upon it. So even if it's a little unfair, I think that's good. My original excuse was for performance reasons, but it's a text-based game that's turn-based, so I don't think that's a good excuse. I'm not going to use that excuse. Yeah, and so anyway, the enemies don't have this. This is just for the player. It's just a nerf, basically. But the thought was, so in our stats here, you see we have perception. So my initial thought was like, well, I think it's still my thought, is like you change this. So like maybe you have like really low perception. You like see very, very little, and you're like, wow, I can't even see into there they are, these things. So it's like, it's much darker and dimmer, but like if your perception is like maybe a little more normal, it's like, oh, you can see a little more. And maybe you have like a bunch of perception, you're like, you can see everything. It's just the same as before, basically. And maybe you can even have a thing, so like there's still these shadows, right? Maybe you can even see like somewhat behind here. Yeah. My original thought too was like, oh, you could only see like the walls and stuff, but you couldn't see enemies. And I didn't quite like that, because it felt like why would you need to see the walls? It's like false advertising, right? Like if you saw the wall outline here and no enemies, you're like, oh, there's no enemies, and then you pop around the corner, it's like bang, bunch of enemies. Like I feel like that would be kind of unfair, so that's why I didn't do that. Let me change this back to normal. I actually kind of like the default effect with the blending. Yeah, that was, anyway, that was an adventure to get working. So that's the progress for this week. I did a little bit of the UI stuff just to make it look more, because it was unupdated here. I'm still deciding whether to remove this thing. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if there's any like whatever cool applications you can think of this. Like, oh, like there's a maze and you have to walk in the maze with like really low, maybe there's like fog that changes your visibility. Your visibility, or like maybe there's weather events, so like when it's raining everything's a little bit more dim, or like it's a clear sky and so you can see farther, but maybe the water is so shiny and reflective you can't see past it. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. Next, I'll actually be working on the world generation, unless I don't, but I think I will be. I have some cool plans for that, so that'll be something cool to look forward to. Yeah, I think that's all. Anyway, thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time. Bye, ya.